Hi there, my name is Tom Inglis and I'm the founder of Samadhi International. It's a ministry that has touched many lives in many nations, and it's basically teaching worship as a lifestyle. But let me just give you a little bit of background. I can obviously hear a Scottish accent. Was born in Scotland and moved to South Africa with my mum and dad. I was just 14 at the time, and I've always had a love for music, and so I was drawn to music at an early age. And when we arrived in South Africa, I started a band in the high school, and we did pretty well. We started winning Battle of the Band competitions and things like that, and then I sung in some of the local clubs and places in and around Johannesburg. And then I got married, met my wife Barbara, got married, and I gave up the music part for a while. And I really had a hunger for music when I gave it up. I was always just a singer, and what happened is I got drawn. Basically, God did it, but I got drawn to the church. An invitation one night to go to a small church, and I'd heard that they had good musicians in the church, and so I said to it was my sister-in-law. I says, "We'll go, but when the music is over, we'll leave." You know, that was the whole idea, because we were not really interested in church at the time. Anyway, we went along to this little church, and it was just incredible. There was a couple of musicians there. The church was tiny, but there was a couple of musicians there that were really exceptional. And during the worship, something happened to me. I felt a kind of conviction. I don't know how to explain it, but I knew that something was missing. And during the worship, I felt my heart was being softened towards God. And you know, when the pastor got up and he preached and then he made an altar call, I responded, put my hand up, and I looked at Barbara and her hand was already up. And both of us get saved that night, and it was just wonderful. And from that, you know, the pastor of that church was a musical pastor, in fact. And he said, "I hear you're a singer. Would you like to join these guys that's in the church and put a band together, and were you singing?" And I said, "I would love to do that." And so we did that, and I became part of that band. And you know, the same thing happened again. There was a very famous singer. There was two of us that were lead vocalists, myself and this other fellow who was a very famous singer at the time in South Africa, had got saved. And so we started just playing at the local church, and things started happening. People would get saved, people would get set free. And so it gradually expanded from the local church. We got invitations to go to other churches, and the same thing happened there again. And so it was quite a profound time. I ended up actually going to a church that had just started, and it was called the Rhema Church in Johannesburg. And there was only about 60 people when Barbara and I went there. And I got the invitation to, within a year, to become the music director there. And so I became the music director there, and I saw the church grow from basically 60 people to, well, over 5,000, 15,000 in fact, by the time I left. And so it was just a remarkable move of God. And so, you know, we were going along really happy with everything. And then one night I had an encounter with God in my room. And I'd never experienced anything like that before. And I felt the Lord was challenging me on the subject of worship. Now at that stage we were quite a well-known worship ministry, and we were gaining recognition worldwide at that time as well. But I felt God was saying to me, there's something more than just the musical aspect I want you to understand. And it was the life component of worship, that worship was a lifestyle. And so I felt challenged by that time with God. I knew it was God, to develop a course to teach people the lifestyle principles of worship. And so I started to do that, and as I did that, I eventually conducted the course in the church, the local church, and people came, and people's lives were impacted through the teachings. And then I invited pastors to come from different denominations, and they came to my surprise. And I said, you know, take this back to your local church and see if it works. And they took it back to their church, and I got reports back from them. This is actually working. Our people's lives have been touched through these principles. And then we would have massive conferences at the church, and Pastor Ray, my pastor, would say, Pastor Tom's teaching on Monday morning, you pastors need to be there and hear what he's got to say about worship. And so on Monday morning, at the conference, they came and hundreds of pastors would come to my meeting and say, Tom, would you come to our country? Would you come to our country? Before I knew what was happening, within about a year, I had more invitations to travel the nations than I could ever dream possible. And so it eventually happened that I had to leave the Rhema Church and go full time with this ministry called Samadhi. And so it was teaching the lifestyle principles of worship, which is what we've done consistently over all these years. But recently, my son and David and myself have really felt that we should expand and get the message out. Online is the way you do it now. And so we've created courses which are kind of shorter than what we did before. So there will be online and there will be PDFs to back them up. And then there will be interaction with myself and David for all the students that signed up, so that we can, in a sense, mentor them through the lessons that they have signed up for. And there'll be a series of courses, as I said. So the first one is one on responding to God's presence. So anyway, I hope you can sign up for these and get to know God more intimately, because it will change your life. In the times in which we live, we know that God is drawing the church closer to himself. And I believe that Jesus will come back for a worshiping church. So please find out more about that and join us. God bless you, and thank you for listening.